Hey there, my name is Sherry. I have a lot to say, so I'm going to try to fit it into as short of a video as possible. Today I just removed my video Hemp Seed Oil Experiment idea from YouTube. It's been up here for a few years. It's gotten over 43,000 views, and I got a lot of comments, and some people were very touched by it, and it helped them a lot, and other people just didn't get it, and I decided to take it down because really, from where I sit at this time, maybe not from when I put it up there, I feel that, I agree, it doesn't exactly do the topic justice. And I do have new things to say on the topic. At the time, I had made a video using the hemp seed oil. The seed oil is from the domesticated low to no THC crop. And it didn't do what I wanted it to do. I had a long-term systemic rash I was trying to get rid of that it was in various places, like in my elbow and under my arm and stuff like this. And it didn't really, it worked, it was somewhat helpful, but it wasn't really a topical problem I was experiencing, so a topical solution wasn't the answer. I eventually, after a few more years after making that video, only last year, tried Himalayan crystal salt brine water, and that was actually, that did it. That was very helpful for me. You make a 100% saltwater solution, so you take the Himalayan crystal salt crystals, hopefully big ones that haven't been broken up yet, so they still have all of their energy and have less exposure to contaminants. You take that and you put it in water and you wait for it to dissolve until the water has become 100% saturated, at which point other crystals will form on the bottom from the unsaturated salts and minerals. And then you just add a tablespoon of that to your normal glass of water in the morning. And I did that for a few weeks, and after only a few weeks, the rash was gone, all evidence of it was gone, like where it had ever been, and it's just never come back. So the brine water is something I don't do daily, but I do on a pretty regular basis, and every now and then I do it for a couple weeks at a time. But I've never had another problem again, and I do have and developed around the same time I did that video. I had only recently developed a chemical sensitivity. And, after I did the video, the skin rash really started to become agitated by chemicals in the air and stuff like that. It would get all red and welty and whatnot. So it was, by the time I tried the Himalayan crystal salt last year, I was really just done with it. I just didn't know what else to do, and I wasn't sure exactly if the Himalayan crystal salt was going to have any effect on me. I was kind of doing it just for some general improvement. But no, it ended up being the solution for that, and it's never come back. But I still had the chemical sensitivity, and it was still a major burden on my life and on the lives of the people I love around me, my husband and others, and myself. And you can't imagine the life of someone with a chemical sensitivity. To the average person, they look like total freaks. Their faces are covered in masks. They have weird body language. They might often be giving you dirty looks and you don't know why. And there's a lot of reasonable explanations for all of that very eccentric behavior, and the condition necessitates it. And someone who doesn't have it, you would really have to try to understand the kind of invisible field of obstacles that someone with a chemical sensitivity to, say, perfumes and air fresheners and whatnot, what they have to go through as they go out into the world. So dealing with that kind of situation, it's hard to deal with it gracefully. MCS is very undermining of your health. It's undermining of your stability in yourself. It slaps you in the face, and you never quite get used to it because you don't really expect it to be such a problem all the time, and other people's reactions can be really offsetting because it's an invisible illness. You might not look ill to them, and therefore they don't necessarily extend you compassion. So being able to deal with those things gracefully is definitely a real gift. And I started using an infusion of cannabis and olive oil just this past spring. And it was after quite a dark period in my life, and with my husband and our business, my condition was definitely making everything we needed to do very difficult. So I finally decided that, you know what, I think I think I'm really going to give it a try. I believe that the oil can heal people, and there's nothing that the current medical system has in place that is a reasonable treatment for multiple chemical sensitivity. I really got desperate enough to finally say, you know what, I think I'm going to try the cannabis oil for MCS. Except I didn't want to process it the way I had seen it done to make like hash oil, the way Rick Simpson did it. It seemed like a really complicated, kind of overwhelming, intimidating process where you need a lot of stuff and there's a lot of stuff going on. So I wanted something that was really simple. And my husband and I went online and we found a couple different videos on YouTube where somebody was making a cannabis oil infusion with olive oil. And between the two different videos, we extrapolated a simple process that we could do ourselves just with a pot and a hot plate and, you know, something to strain and contain the oil in afterwards. And we had a little bit of bud on hand, so, you know, we saw the videos and we turned around and we made our own oil. We used only 3 grams. We didn't have very much. We used 3 grams of oil, of bud to a cup and a half of oil. And we froze it after we processed it, and it only took a couple of hours from end to end. And the next morning, the frozen oil had separated from the little bit of water we had added to the mixture to keep it from burning. And I used that, and since then I've seen just the greatest degree of improvement since I started in the sensitization spiral just over 6 years ago. I had to quit teaching. I ended up homebound for about 3 years shortly after I made the Hemp Seed Oil Experiment video because I was just sensitizing to everything that was toxic. And I didn't even realize, without having had the sensitivity before, how many of my products contained these problem ingredients. And, you know, since developing the sensitivity, I've managed to get most of them out of my life. But taking the oil, I found that using it every day, I was using it only on my lips at first, and I did find that that was somewhat helpful, but it was really taking it every day. I usually have 2 pieces of toast, and I just spread the oil out on top like it's butter, and I sprinkle that with Himalayan crystal salt. And if I can keep that up consistently, everything is just better. I can deal with exposures more gracefully. I can choose to leave an exposure without having to run away. I have enough of a buffer before it makes me sick that I can recognize it's something I should avoid. And, you know, I have created a life for myself where I can choose whether or not I can stay in an exposure, or I can leave and return home to my safe place if it gets to that point. I haven't had to wear a mask on my face in months, except for a couple extreme situations where I could have chosen to leave, but I wanted to stay, so I chose to wear my mask and stay. Except that's it. I'm just so much more freer than I was before. And, you know, people are still commenting, or we're still commenting on the Hemp Seed Oil Experiment idea video. And I realized that it just doesn't do the topic justice. And here I am, many years later, coming from a very different spot, though with the same love for the truth and just pure desire for health and to be as in harmony with nature as possible. But with a real story, a real success story of how the cannabis oil, in this case in an infusion, is just an amazing medicine that is really helping, specifically in my case, someone with a chronic illness that is little understood, that is generally untreated, and the best things that Systemia can come up for to treat MCS are things like neuroplasty and the electroshock and antidepressants, you know. So it's wonderful to find a natural healing thing that's really worked for such a growing condition in the population that is so little and rarely understood by doctors. So I really wanted to put this up there, having removed the other video, and I hope that anybody who has environmental sensitivities, fibromyalgia, MCS, irritable bowel syndrome, any of these things, Crohn's disease, cancer, I hope that you're really willing to consider cannabis whether the oil, like the hash oil in its most concentrated form, or an infusion, which is a lesser concentration. Any of these things, I really hope that you'll consider trying them, because, you know, it's just, if it was the first thing we did, I think everybody would suffer far less over time than whether we wait till it to be the last thing we try. But that being said, I appreciate everybody listening, and I may or may not make more videos, but I just wanted to put this one up there. And it's just the world's medicine, so let's spread the truth and not give up. Thanks a lot.